Welcome back, my fellow night terrors, to a place where the veil between our world and the next wears terrifyingly thin. Here in the digital shadows, we gather to explore the darkest corners of the internet. Tonight, we delve into the unsettling mystery of a chat room, a seemingly innocent digital gathering place that became a beacon for something truly sinister. 3 horrifying tales await us, each one a chilling testament to the power of the unknown lurking just beyond our screens. Turn off the lights, sit back, and prepare to be terrified. Our journey begins in the late hours when the digital world hums with a life of its own. Picture a chat room, a place for whispered secrets and shared fears, a digital campfire for the curious and the daring. It was known simply as the Void, a name that seemed to whisper of the emptiness it promised to fill. At first, it was like any other online forum, a random collection of usernames seeking connection in the vast digital sea. The conversations were typical, mundane even, filled with the usual internet banter and late-night musings. But then, something changed. A new user entered the chat, a cryptic entity with the ominous name Abyss Watcher. Their messages were different, shrouded in an unsettling enigma that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to read them. Abyss Watcher spoke in riddles, cryptic pronouncements that hinted at a knowledge beyond the veil, a connection to something ancient and powerful. They spoke of a ritual, a way to pierce the fabric of reality and glimpse the truth that lay hidden beneath. One by one, members of the chat room began to feel an unsettling pull towards Abyss Watcher's words. Curiosity warred with fear, the allure of the unknown battling against the primal instinct to turn away from the darkness. Messages from Abyss Watcher became more frequent, each one a carefully placed stone on a path leading to an unknown destination. They began to share fragments of an ancient incantation, a whispered promise of power that set the chat room abuzz with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Some dismissed it as elaborate trolling, a way to stir up the digital pot and elicit a reaction. But others, those drawn to the allure of the unknown, felt a growing sense of unease. Sleep became a distant memory as the lines between the digital and the real began to blur. Strange occurrences plagued those who dared to delve deeper into Abyss Watcher's cryptic messages. Flickering lights, disembodied whispers, and vivid nightmares seeped into their waking hours, each incident a chilling confirmation that something was terribly wrong. One user, a young woman named Sarah, found herself particularly captivated by Abyss Watcher's words. Drawn in by a curiosity she couldn't shake, Sarah spent hours deciphering the cryptic messages, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she delved deeper into the mystery. Late one night, as Sarah sat alone in the glow of her computer screen, she received a private message from Abyss Watcher. The message was simple, a single line of text that sent shivers down her spine. "Are you ready to see what lies beyond?" It was a question, an invitation, and a threat all rolled into one. Fear tightened its grip on Sarah's chest, her heart pounding in her ears as she stared at the message. Her instinct screamed at her to log off, to sever the connection before it was too late. But something, perhaps that same insatiable curiosity that had led her down this path in the first place, kept her fingers glued to the keyboard. As the night deepened, the chat room buzzed with a nervous energy. Abyss Watcher's presence hung over the digital gathering like a shroud, their silence speaking volumes. Those who had dared to participate in the ritual, their usernames now forever etched in the annals of the chat room's history, felt a growing sense of dread. It was as if they had crossed an invisible line, ventured into territory from which there was no return. The first sign that something was amiss came in the form of glitches, strange anomalies that plagued the chat room. Messages appeared and disappeared, their words twisting into unsettling shapes before vanishing entirely. Usernames flickered, their digital identities momentarily replaced by strings of random characters that seemed to writhe and pulsate on the screen. Then came the whispers. At first they were faint, barely audible above the hum of the computer's fan. But as the night wore on, they grew louder, more insistent, until they filled the silence between keystrokes with an unsettling chorus of disembodied voices. Those who dared to listen claimed that the whispers spoke their names, uttered threats in languages they couldn't understand. Fear, palpable and consuming, began to spread through the chat room like wildfire. Users who had initially scoffed at the ritual, dismissing it as harmless fun, now found themselves frantically typing messages, begging for Abyss Watcher to stop, to undo whatever it was they had started. But their pleas were met with silence, the digital ether filled only with the growing cacophony of whispers. Among those who had participated in the ritual, Sarah felt a growing sense of dread. The strange occurrences that had plagued her before had intensified, taking on a sinister edge that sent shivers down her spine. Her dreams were haunted by shadowy figures, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. The whispers followed her into her waking hours, taunting her with cryptic threats that left her shaken and terrified. Desperate for answers, Sarah reached out to the other members of the chat room, those who had dared to dabble in the darkness alongside her. But her messages were met with silence, her digital cries for help lost in the growing chaos. It was as if the chat room itself was turning against them, becoming a conduit for something sinister that sought to cross the boundary between the digital and the real. One evening, as Sarah sat staring at her computer screen, her heart pounding in her chest, she received a message from an unknown sender. The message was short, chilling in its simplicity. Stop before it's too late. The words hung in the chat window, a stark warning that sent a wave of fear washing over her. But who had sent it? Was it one of the other chat room participants, someone who had managed to break free from the grip of whatever darkness they had unleashed? Or was it something else, something that had been lurking in the shadows all along, watching, waiting for the opportune moment to strike? Chapter 3. The Summoning. The final night arrived, cloaked in a digital tension so thick it felt like a physical presence. The chat room, once a place of escape, had transformed into a prison of dread. The whispers had escalated into guttural chants, a chorus of voices from some unseen abyss. The random characters now formed unsettling symbols, ancient glyphs that seemed to burn themselves onto the retinas. Abyss Watcher, the orchestrator of this descent into darkness, remained a phantom, their presence felt but never truly seen. Their messages, once cryptic riddles, now appeared as fragmented sentences dripping with malevolence. The few remaining members exchanged frantic messages, their numbers dwindling as fear drove them away. Some typed incoherently, their words a jumbled mess of fear and regret. Others, desperate, attempted to reason with Abyss Watcher, to plead for an end to the nightmare. But their pleas were met with only silence. Then it began. A single word appeared on the screen, typed in bold capital letters, "Begin." The chat room convulsed, the screen flickering erratically as if struggling to contain the forces being unleashed. The chants reached a fever pitch, the air growing heavy with static electricity. And then silence. A silence so profound, so absolute, that it felt like the entire world had stopped breathing. The chat room, once a cacophony of digital noise, was now a desolate wasteland, the cursor blinking accusingly. Days turned into weeks, and the silence remained unbroken. The chat room became a digital ghost town, haunted by the memory of what had transpired. Of Abyss Watcher there was no sign. They had vanished as quickly and mysteriously as they had arrived, leaving behind unanswered questions and a lingering sense of dread. Those who had participated in the ritual were forever changed. Some disappeared entirely, their online personas vanishing without a trace. Others resurfaced, forever scarred by their experience, their tales whispered in hushed tones. As for Sarah, she never fully recovered from her encounter with the chat room and Abyss Watcher. The nightmares persisted, the whispers echoing in the silence of her waking hours. The digital world, once a source of connection, now filled her with unease, a reminder of the darkness beyond the screen. She knew the chat room had been a conduit, a gateway for something ancient and evil. And though the ritual was over, she couldn't shake the feeling that the entity was still out there, waiting for its next opportunity. Thank you for braving the depths of these chilling tales. If these stories of the chat room that summoned a demon have sent shivers down your spine, remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the heart of darkness. The internet, for all its wonders, holds secrets best left undisturbed. Be careful what you seek in the digital shadows, for you never know what might be lurking on the other side of the screen. Until next time, my fellow night terrors, stay safe and beware of the darkness.